Sir, take another beer, please.
Yes.
Good luck.
There you go.
I'll just set that over there. So the new timeline for Mt Fitzroy is, gracias. Thank you, thank you. The new timeline for Mt Fitzroy is, I can't write Mt Fitzroy until I rewrite the hardcover core, because I found when I rewrote Ancestor, people who had died lived and people who had lived died. And then some people vanished and new people took their place. It's kind of how it went down. I didn't do it specifically to facilitate book sales, but I hope it does. You know? So I can't do, I gotta wait till I rewrite your core, hardcover, and then after that I'll be able to go into Mt Fitzroy. So, we won't know if I'm still doing it with Crown, or if it'll be with another publisher, or if at that point I will have gotten to the point where I can sell 10,000 copies from Øverlord Media, at which point I will just not need a publisher anymore, and we'll say, forget you guys. Find somebody who can just get the books in the stores and just be done with it. And that could very well happen. We'll see how it goes. They're down to 6 big publishing houses right now, and some of those are not going to be here in 2 years. So we're probably going to be down to 4. We're probably going to be down to 1 major chain that you guys all know and love, and then a couple regional chains like the Cows. So I don't know who's going to publish that thing, but we'll publish it ourselves. The thing is, I've got all the books. I can't seem to write a single book. All the books are series. So there's Earthcore, Mt Fitzroy, there's a 3rd book. There is, of course, Infected, Contagious, and Pandemic. There's 3 books in the Nocturnal series. The Crypt series will be ongoing. There's 7 in the Rookie series. If you guys got here late, there's 7 books in that series. And then Ancestry has 3, because we're going to go Ancestor, Descendant, and the end of Ancestor has an awesome epilogue that sets up the Descendant critters. And I think you guys will like them. I think they're pretty cool. I can't wait to write them. But I also set up an Ancestor, all the hooks for a prequel with Clayton Detweiler. So Clayton going to be back when he was 22, hanging out with the Rat Pack, hooking up with Marilyn Monroe, hanging out with Jack Kerouac, all those people. So eventually we'll come out with that on our own. So even Ancestors is a 3-book series to go back and write a trilogy for that one. So we probably 2000, I'm going to guess 2014 or 15.
That's what I was saying. Is it going to be 2020 before we see Mt Fitzroy?
Because people have been asking me on the tour, and I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer sometimes. And I'm like, man, why is everybody asking about Mt Fitzroy? That's like what everybody's asking about. And somebody's like, because it's the first book you came out with, and you've been promising it to us every year for 5 years. I was like, oh, Mt Fitzroy, yeah. So that'll be the first book I get to out of a new deal, for sure. Now, if I publish it with Crown, we'll see how that goes. So it's coming.
All right.
It's coming. Hell, I already wrote the first chapter, so you guys can heard it.
Yes, we have.
How hard can the rest of it be? Take me 30 minutes.
Well, then hop on it.
What are you waiting for? I'll be riding in the car on the way back from the bar.
When did you say Rookie 2 was coming out, or whatever?
Rookie 2, the pre-orders will start on draft day next year, and then the book will be delivered before the actual NFL regular season. Because I don't know if any NFL fans.
Miami Dolphins! Woo!
My goal is to get, we got 2 fans going head-to-head this week too, the Chargers and Dolphins. My goal is to get you your copies of the Rookie series, and get you the copies of Starter when you are still deluding yourselves into thinking that your NFL team, that it's your year, that it's really going to happen for you. So you're all optimistic watching the preseason, like, I know we went 2 into the preseason, but I feel like this is Cleveland's year. And then the starter shows up and you're just like, yeah, football, starter, rookie, Sigler, Cleveland Browns, awesome. And you start reading it, and everything is very happy, and then you go 1-3, and then you are sad. But I already got you happy with mine. You're associating happy with what I do, and sad with what your team does. And then the next year, because you're fools, yeah, this is Detroit's year for sure.
Yeah.
I know it. I've been right here. 32 years of watching it. This is their year. Like,
Nobody's that foolish except you.
What's that?
Nobody's that foolish except you.
I don't know. That was the Vikings, yeah. So that I've actually come up with I thought about this marketing strategy many years ago, which is draft day. If you're a hardcore football fan, draft day is extraordinarily optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went 0-16, but we got the #1 pick. Yay! And you think things are going to change, so you're happy and you want to spend some money, and that's kind of how it goes. So every draft day for the next 6 years, hopefully you guys will be ordering the book. And I don't know if anybody, some people got here late, but the people we stayed with last night, they buy a lot of special edition books, so they're pulling them out, and some of them these like cases and real cool stuff. Gee, it's spent like $250 on some of these books. Because they're like, they only make 500, so they sell 250. I'm like, that's a lot of money for a book. But she was very happy with it. She flipped through the back, and I felt so dumb because in the back of the book, people who had pre-ordered the book, their names were actually in the book. They were printed a list in the back. So we're going to have for the starter, Kraken's Fan Club, and if you pre-order on draft day, your names are actually going to be printed in the back of the book. So that was we'll start doing that from now on. Yes, sir.
Marcus, my book was. I agree. It all tastes like hairspray.
Ask me after, I'll look it up in here. But it's a company called Subterranean Press. That's their whole business, is taking Neil Gaiman books and Joe Lansdale books and popular novels, Scalzi books, and saying, well, here's a popular novel, we're going to make a tricked out hardcover for 500 copies, sell it for 250 bucks, which is kind of what we're doing at Dark Øverlord. This is the most tricked out book you guys will see outside of a $250 Subterranean book. But we're never going to charge $250 for our stuff. That's just...
That's J.C. Hutchinson.
I don't believe in doing that to your fans. I think that's a little crazy. If you want to make a fancy book, that's great. 35 bucks is a lot to pay for a book. That's plenty. Nocturnal may wind up being more, but if I charge them 35 bucks for a book, it's going to be worth about 100 bucks. I mean, it's going to be tricked out. So.
How's the Eva Queen?
What's that?
Eva Queen.
Eva Queen's doing very well. She just got back from a trip to Japan with her brother. They went to spend a week in Japan. Which is awesome because I've never been to Japan, although I took 2 years of Japanese. So I'm like, now you're going to go to Japan, really? Well, I'm not sure now. So apparently their brothers like me, and they were gone. They're twins, so they go off and do stuff all the time. So she's doing great. We have one more test in November. One more, eat the radioactive pill, see if anything absorbs. If nothing shows up on the radioactive magic stand, she's totally in the clear. So she was at a soccer game today. She's working. She's in 3 soccer leagues. So yeah, everything's going great. Still working out 6 times a week and making a deal like that. So she's excellent. Actually, I just got a text from her. This is funny. I'll read it real quick. She says, I'm not even there, keep in mind. Anybody see the movie I Love You Man?
Yeah.
She just watched it. She says, you owe me for watching I Love You Man. It's awful. And then I have to blame someone. So I get blamed even though I have absolutely nothing to do with this.
Ain't nothing wrong with that movie.
Yep. I think Detroit's probably going to win somewhere between the Scott Ziegler posters. There are no posters right now. We had some posters for Title Fight, the one I'm doing with Matt Wallace, but I think we're out of those. So, however, for Ancestor, what we're going to do is I got to talk to Crown a couple weeks ago, and any of you guys signed up to get the posters for Contagious? We had kind of a street team thing going. Just go to my website, fill out a form, you get posters and postcards. And they were printing them off on their laser print. And I'm like, okay, that's not exactly what I had in mind. So people are getting these like, these are crappy, I'm not putting these up anywhere. Well, for Ancestor, they're actually going to do offset printing, so you'll be able to get on there and say, I want 20 Ancestor posters so I can put them up in my school or my record store or my community. And then obviously you can keep a couple of those. If you just want one for yourself, you can get one. We're really going to try and leverage all the fans for Ancestor. So you get this stuff, you can send postcards to your friends, you can hand out the business cards, put up the posters wherever you can. Any business that has posters up the wall, you can go do that. And the reason for that is, in fact, it sold real well. Not as well as they thought it was going to sell, but it's kind of a strange gray area because they thought it was going to sell 100,000 copies. It sold 20,000 copies, which is more than 98% of the books that they publish. So if they'd gone in expecting 5, it would have been a big success. But they're like, well, it sold a lot, but not as many as we thought. So it's kind of a gray area for Crown. Contagious came out, sold the same amount, but in the time it took for Contagious to come out, the whole publishing industry had taken a nosedive. So comparatively speaking to the industry, Contagious did much better than Infected. So what I'm shooting for Ancestor, the goal is top 10 New York Times placement for Ancestor. So I've got to pretty much sell twice as many books as I did for Contagious to get up there. So we got on the list. We're actually you guys got me in the New York Times bestseller list for Contagious, so thank you very much for that. That was all you. Crown knows it wasn't them. They know it was the fan base. We're going to try to leverage that as much as possible for Ancestor and see if we can go out and make a big stink. It's important to get up there because as the publishing industry continues to go into the crapper, if you go to a bookstore and see that top 10 bestsellers rack, those get all the preferential favor treatment. And if you go to an airport, again, you see the top 10 get the big placement. So I figure if I get on that rack, then with infected and contagious already on the shelves, then that's going to be a big compound factor, and then things will move on from there. So
I know our local big indie in Austin, book people, every time I go in and look in the horror section, either infected or contagious is face out.
yeah. I'm getting a lot of delayed support from the bookstores, because usually to get face out, you're paying for that. And especially if it's a front table, the publisher has to pay for that. It's expensive co-promotion, but so many of you guys actually went into bookstores. A lot of people bought on Amazon, that's great. You can pre-order on Amazon at any time. That all rolls up to the first week of sales, and that counts towards that bestseller list. But a lot of people, there's a lot of foot traffic I drove in by not doing an Amazon rush. And the bookstores are remembering the books that are selling. So now, just a couple weeks ago, somebody sent me a picture from the airport bookstores in Detroit. And to get face out in an airport bookstore, you have to pay for that. And Infected, which has been out for over a year, is face out in 2 separate bookstores because it's still moving 400 to 500 copies a week all over the country. So the bookstores are like, he's taking care of us, we'll take care of him. And it's really kind of cool to still be getting that face out treatment. Yeah, so I feel like it's kind of weird. It's like, here's the whole publishing industry, and like here's, you know, the big timers, and like then there's the Anne Races and the Stephen Kings are on a totally different level. And then I'm like, here's the big time, I'm like percolating right underneath the surface. So it's a real interesting feeling, because it's frustrating to be right there and not have gotten there yet, know you might never get there, but it's also very exciting to be right there and know like just a couple things go right, and I can jump up to the next level. And then you sort of get forward momentum. As long as you keep making really high quality books, once you get to that level, it takes care of itself. And you realize as an author, you can only screw that up if you get lazy and start putting out crap. And I don't publish crap, sorry. All the hard work's going to pay off, I think. What else you guys want to know?
Hey Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
With your future Dark Lord publishing.
Dark Øverlord Media.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you just going to be publishing the stuff that Canonics not taking from you, or are you going to be helping out some of the other podcasters?
Well, the focal point of Dark Øverlord Media right now is the Rookie, and then the Starter will be the only book we put out next year. And the model for Dark Øverlord Media is a lot different than other models. Publishing is a rule of thumb. If you have a publishing house, you publish 100 books, knowing you're going to lose money on 90 of them, hoping to make money on 10 of them, and hoping that 1 or 2 of them is a big enough hit that it pays for everything else, right? So it pays for all the books you lost money on, pays all your salaries, your overhead, all your shipping. That's kind of how the model works. What A and I are doing is, very simply, we're going to go find people who already have an existing online audience that we think they can pre-sell 1,000 copies of the book in the first day. If you have that, we don't really care what your content is, because what podcasting and audiobooks.com has shown us is you can't assume you know what's good. Because I've got a stack of rejection letters that's 150 deep, because everybody at the publishing houses didn't think my books would sell because they were too cross-shot. And they were wrong. And J.C. Hutchins has gone through the same thing, and they were wrong about him too. It's up to the audience to decide what's good. So, if somebody has a big online audience and they can pre-sell 1,000 copies of a book, we'll help them make the best book they can, but it's not up to us to determine what's good, it's up to the audience, right? So as far as helping out the other podcast authors, we're not out to help out anybody or give anybody a leg up or anything like that. If somebody's out there and they make their own audience, and then we can come out and help them take that audience, give their fans a book that their fans will be happy buying, and then make some money for that person, that's what we're out to do. We plan to hopefully be, this is our full-time gig in 3 years, is Dark Øverlord Media. And our goal is that 10 years from now, we're in Forbes or whatever, and we'll be like the only publisher who can say, we made money on every book we published, from the first book all the way to the last book. And everybody else who's been doing it the way publishing's been doing it for 200 years is kind of dumb, and they should have done what we were doing. So, we're trying to cheat. We're trying to go find people who are guaranteed to be profitable and help them put out a book.
And the reason I ask, Jen and I were talking on the way up here, and what we would love to see is you get together with Nathan Lowell and bring out the Solar Clipper series.
The Solar Clipper series and all the stuff Nathan Lowell does is great, but Nathan Lowell writes fantastic books and a lot of people like him, but we have to sit and look at his numbers and say, does Nathan Lowell have 500 diehard followers, or does he have 5,000 because the buy-through is about 10%. So if I sell 1,000 copies in the first 3 hours and I sell 3,000 copies in the first 3 months and sell a print run, there's probably 30,000 people listening. The general rule of thumb I found with Infected and Contagious is for all the fans I've got, about 10% of them actually buy the books, and that's totally awesome and fine. But that's the only benchmark I have to go on. So yeah. So, but again, it's, you know, I can listen to that stuff. I think it's the greatest stuff since sliced bread. But you know, like Matt Wallace is another one. He's the best author in the world in my opinion. He's fantastic. I love everything he puts out. Doesn't have that many people listening to his stuff. So a lot of it's not just the books. It comes down to how hard the podcaster or the internet superstar, wherever they are, how hard are they working to build up an audience?
Right.
Because it's the existing audience that kickstarts things from there. But yes, sir.
So, can we expect to hear your voice in any other podcasts coming up? Guest appearances. You gonna have time to do anything?
Probably not a lot of time to do anything. I've been saying that October is going to be my Madden month, and this would be me in October. And I might take a break to grab an Oreo. This would be it right here. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen because I've already promised a lot of work to a lot of people. So there will be some guest roles. I've kind of got it down to a science now. For the first time, I'm actually going to have to set up an interview request form on the site because there's just too many things coming in, from not just from the podcasting community, but now from regular publishing and other author sites. So we got to kind of filter some of that down. So pretty much the guest parts are, it comes in, it's 2 or 3 pages, things are highlighted, I can sit down and knock that out in an hour, send you the raw file, and yeah, we'll hear some more stuff. So,
Starkeeper was good.
Starkeeper, feedback, I just did feedback for Broken Seas Productions, and they were really happy with that. So I still want to do as much of that as I can, but getting content in the feed every Sunday, and getting stuff to the people in Hollywood who are actually asking for it. It's been a kind of a sobering experience to whine, cry, and moan that I'm not getting any attention for the past 15 years. And then I've actually got the dudes who made Batman saying, we'd like to see more of this stuff that you gave us. And be like, yeah, I don't have time for you right now. I'll get back to you in 4 months. Like, you say exactly what I did. And I'm like, I cannot believe the words are coming out of my mouth after all the moaning I did about how I couldn't get anybody's ear. But yeah, so the stuff that could potentially pay the bills and keep me podcasting comes first, then everything else. But I think there'll definitely be time. Be some time. That was up on addictivecomics.com, and that's kind of stalled. That was first Mark, the guy who was working on putting that up, had done the 10 panels, was waiting for more information from me, and I took on 2 new projects and got swamped. So I went a couple months without getting him anything. Then I get back in the saddle, now he's gone a couple months without getting me anything, he's moved on to the project. So it's largely just stalled right now. So I think we'll probably wind up, now that the rookie is out in hardcover, we'll probably go back and start over. And look for artists like, let's find a new artist, let's just do the whole thing from scratch. We'll see how it goes. The guy who's doing Infected is just, anybody ever heard of Keeping the Girls? There's a podcast called Keeping the Girls, which is a lot like a Howard Stern type podcast. Keeping the Girl have one of their morning Zoom crew people, his name is Spooky. Spooky's the guy doing the Infected one. And that, so at the very least, we'll get the Infected graphic novel will either go up on AMC TV as a webcomic on there, or it'll go on addictivecomics.com, so we'll get it going there. And if that's going, then maybe we'll get somebody who can do the rookie. It's kind of hard, because you got to find somebody who's a talented artist who can do an 80, 90, 120-page graphic novel for free, with the hopes that we'll get a big audience and sell that off and then they get paid on the back end. Some people have the bandwidth to do that kind of gig. Other people got to do the working day job and they can't manage the time. So it's hard to find the right combination of talent with somebody who's financially secure enough to take out it's a massive project. So Spooky's the guy who can do it for Infected. The Infected graphic novel is really cool. He's got the vibe nailed down cool. Just every panel is just kind of cool. Even the normal stuff looks kind of creepy. It's kind of neat.
Just sneaking out to say, give a little shout out to my boy Arion because professionally for 12 years.
do I love Ariac? How could you not love Ariac? But do
But
I
you know
love
what?
Ariac?
All I've got is
So I made a little sign.
Shape
Hans is
alike.
filming it for me, but
It's there.